of you?
Both of us.
Okay, so have you been covering his press conferences in here?
We covered it before.
But since because we rotate them, the stills in, so you're gonna have to work with them,
Okay.
so that you're not
That's perfectly fine.
6 feet,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so we gotta make sure the stills, the press photographers are in.
Sure.
And we can only have how many?
Like, you have 1, 2,
I can get 5
3.
5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Is that okay?
but like, you're sitting down, whereas print person's gonna be, you're gonna have to, you're doing sound today?
Yes.
I just don't want you too close to this person. I moved you.
to be there.
Yeah, you move me. Listen, I am loaded for bear today.
No.
Can you put it on anything, or do you have to be lower?
I'll sit right here.
Different person, can I sit?
Oh, I'm looking at it always.
That's a flexible rotator.
Oh,
Where are you at?
sorry,
Who are you at?
the New York Times.
And are you one of the, pool people who's gonna attend this today?
No,
Huh?
I am different New York Times reporter who thought I could pop in.
Grand.
You'll have to wait outside, all the seats are assigned because of
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
So this has been having a whole ton of interest, so there have been seats available, but you're gonna have to wait outside.
until they're established, and then if there's something open, I
And
can.
then I will let you know.
Okay.
in a minute. You're behind this gentleman.
Oh, guys, okay.
What?
No, 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 no.
The light, don't worry. It doesn't look great. No, she doesn't.
I don't want anybody
No, there's no picture.
filming me wiping.
Pony, everybody.
All right. I'm not gonna touch the podium, but can I get a focus?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Are you one of the assigned pools for today?
No, I didn't know that.
All the chairs are assigned.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. If they don't show, we'll let people in,
Okay.
so you should just wait 6 feet apart and run.
I'm good right here, right?
Yeah, as long as you got lunch.
I did. I was able to eat lunch. Thank you very much. I appreciate your concern. See, I was in line, and then someone from the press photography gallery texted me, maybe get out of line.
Oh,
And then the line only got longer.
well,
That delayed my lunch. And you see, I was already hangry.
the person who texted the press photographer's gallery, mentioned when were the lunches? So the press photographer gallery answered that question,
Literally.
not when the steakhouse.
Right.
1, 2,
Oh,
so you can go,
And in the hallway, they need to be 6 feet apart.
so you can go, I think that middle spot is open, or I can get 5 minutes.
what? You did?
Hey, moneymaker. If you take that middle spot.
Like right before I walked through the door. I thought I heard it when I was.
That's fine. I'll just shoot here and then I'll go.
We do normal like 2-minute rotations or not even 2 minutes.
I usually, whatever you guys want to do,
All I need is in Europe.
I'm just gonna be real quick. Close everybody in.
This is laid
maybe
out
1,
on floor,
2,
but
3, 4,
that's where they all are now.
5.
Okay. What about the officials?
I don't know. So what do you guys want to do? So are you guys, do you guys mind coming in after they leave, or?
So,
Yeah, because we can't have any more than 5 photographers in here at any time. And I need to get the press in here first.
Matt, I'm gonna be in here 2 minutes.
Yeah, literally they're gonna be in here like. So,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
that's fine.
Thanks. To that way, to the left of that hallway.
Where?
I'm really. Sorry, works for a small newspaper.
Tom and Shinkle together in the same room? Unheard of.
Where's Tom? He's out there.
No, I don't see.
What's in the hallway?
I saw Tom
Williams. Cool Tom.
Four.
Wait a minute, who's the other Tom? Tom
I
Brenner.
still got 6 minutes.
Oh, yeah. He's a tool. Oh, come on.
Do I
Yeah.
send it? Do I wait? Like, I know he knows what to do. I don't think he's gonna miss it. But if he's
I know.
I see your text.
I know. Which would be cool off the Starburst.
What?
I left my Starburst over at McDonald's.
Was that the breakfast?
That was brunch.
Someone sent me a picture of Starburst in a cup
with a price on it at breakfast.
Yeah, that was probably Tassos. That was Tassos yesterday, maybe.
I mean, like, there's a whole rack of them.
Yeah, in Dirksen.
It's disgusting. Just saying.
They're individually wrapped.
Did they have like warm cups of lard to have with it? Like, to wash it down? Gravy?
Yeah, but you're.
Which way should we go?
I usually do like a clockwise. Like you would
I
go,
should walk across the stage and take his place.
don't listen to him. I'm not worried about him. I used to be worried about you, not anymore. Like you take Rod's spot, Rod would go back to Stephanie, Stephanie would go to Alex, Alex would go to you.
I don't
Cool.
see her. Do you want me to
That's
just go to
great.
the hour?
Yeah, I just want these two, and then
Yeah.
really, I'm real pleased.
Oh, okay.
I'm making
You know,
a
I'm-
quick work of it.
Apparently she could tell Ellen that I'm here.
Oh, yeah, she's right there.
Oh, okay. I'm in here, yeah. No problem.
Fine. Just go back right in between those two chairs.
Ellen?
Huh?
I'm Kelly.
Thank you.
Jason said us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where's? Where's your fifth? I cannot count. Okay.
Photographers have cameras.
Really? You wanna go there?
Take it out.
Ow! Please hurt him. I'd love to watch that.
I will.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Dude, she will wreck you.
I know. I don't mess with
That would
them.
be so awesome.
They mess with the ball.
Get the horns.
Yes. Jim Nostalgia and Michael Reynolds. Oh, what's up?
Space them out.
What are you doing?
Right.
You guys like musical chairs. It's, oh, you get Schumer here, I'll tell you who it is. It's, I have the wrong number on this list. Schumer, Wyden, and Murphy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you doing the volume? That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I can only imagine doing that.
2 minutes.
Heard that, rolling cards. No sticks. You have something up there? You have something? Go.
I don't even need to extend it.
I got this.
You got it.
That's the voice.
Pit stop. Getting some hard candies.
Is you there?
Yes, he's there. He just went to go to the little senator's room.
I guess it's up.
Who knows? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm proud to be joined by Senators Wyden and Hirono and Murphy. And we want to talk, before we talk about what's at stake for millions of Americans, I want to touch on last night's debate. Now, we've seen President Trump melt down when confronted with facts many times, but his obscene performance, that's what it was, a performance, not a debate, and it was extremely filled with right-wing bile that included lie after lie after lie. President Trump insulted the vice president's deceased son, a veteran and public servant, and tried to smear his living one. He gave a fringe white supremacist group a new rallying cry. Stand back and stand by was immediately embraced by the Proud Boys. It's on their website. Appalling. And the President of the United States capped off the night by casting doubt on our elections, tarnishing our democracy. Shakespeare said it best. President Trump's debate performance, in the words of Macbeth, was a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Let me say that again, because Shakespeare, even though he lived 500 years, well, 450 years earlier, described it best. A tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. It's a disgrace, and it is unfathomable to me that Senate Republicans, so many, wouldn't denounce the lies we heard last night and call on President Trump to stop fueling the hatred and racism and stop sowing doubt in our elections. And yet, Senate Republicans are doing Trump's bidding by rushing through a Supreme Court nominee merely days before a national election. But what really worries the American people is why Senate Republicans are rushing to put their health care at risk. Leader McConnell has spent this week trying to cover up the fact that President Trump, his party, and their Supreme Court nominee all want to overturn the ACA. Leader McConnell mocked the idea that a far-right Supreme Court majority is a threat to the ACA, and that Judge Barrett's judicial philosophy would even play a part in that. But President Trump and Senate Republicans have made clear for years that repealing the ACA is their top priority. There's no hiding from their record. They want the Supreme Court to do what they wouldn't try again to do on the Senate floor. Judge Barrett's record is clear. She has publicly criticized Justice Roberts for upholding the ACA. She has written that the Supreme Court, quote, would have had to invalidate, unquote, the law if it read the statute the way she does. Our job is to make sure the American people understand what's at stake here. On Sunday, I stood with New Yorkers whose children have pre-existing conditions. A family with a little girl, Emily, was afraid of what a court decision striking down ACA would mean for Emily's insurance. And there are millions of Emilys and families like Emily's across the country. So let's be clear. A vote to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett is a vote to terminate health care coverage and protections for hundreds of millions of Americans during a global pandemic, nonetheless. That is why I filed a procedural motion that will set up a vote on a bill that would protect the health care of hundreds of millions of Americans and prevent efforts by the Department of Justice to advocate that courts strike down the ACA. So as soon as tomorrow, Leader McConnell and all my Republican colleagues will have an opportunity to set the record straight with their vote. Do they support a bill to protect Americans with pre-existing conditions? Or will they go along with President Trump's plan to let the unelected Supreme Court tear away those protections that help so many Americans? Now, with the okay of my two other colleagues, I'm going to have to turn it over to Senator Murphy because he's heading to the floor to speak on this very topic. Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much, Leader Schumer, and I thank the indulgence of my colleagues. Listen, this couldn't be any clearer. President Trump has made it clear since the 2016 campaign that he is only going to nominate judges to the Supreme Court who will invalidate the entirety of the Affordable Care Act. He spent all of his first year in office trying to get the Congress to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and he couldn't do it. And so he joined with Republicans, Attorney General all across the country in order to file a lawsuit that would do the job that Congress wouldn't and couldn't, taking away insurance from 23 million Americans and raising rates on 130 million others who have pre-existing conditions. A new pre-existing condition in this country is COVID. Now, we know today that 44,000 people are being reported as having COVID on a daily basis. But because this president doesn't believe in testing, because he is implementing a plan to test less people rather than more, we know that number is far underreporting the total number of cases. It is likely that every single day there are hundreds of thousands of people in this country who are becoming COVID positive. And what we are learning about COVID is so troubling. Dr. Fauci told the Senate Health Committee, upon which I sit last week, that scientists are finding that individuals who have recovered from the infection now have fatigue, muscle pain, fever, problems with their neurological system, cognitive abnormalities, just like such as the inability to concentrate. He also noted a study that found that 60 to 70% of COVID positive people, including those who are asymptomatic, have indications of inflammatory disease of the heart. What does this all mean? This means that there is no question about it. COVID, whether you are symptomatic or not, is going to be a pre-existing condition. And if insurance companies can discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions, then if you have ever had COVID, whether you knew it or not, you are either not going to be able to get insurance ever again, or you are going to be charged so much that it is unaffordable. This is the question that Senate Republicans are faced with over the course of the next few weeks. If they vote for Judge Amy Coney Barrett, they are going to assure that everybody in this country with COVID is going to either have insurance unavailable to them in the future or going to be charged so much that they can't ever afford it. COVID is a pre-existing condition. Now, there are 23 million Americans, many of which who won't have COVID, who aren't going to be able to get insurance because they were allowed on the ACA for it. All sorts of other diseases and viruses and diagnoses will now be available for higher rates to the insurance companies. But I wanted to spend my time talking about this very specific issue. If COVID becomes a pre-existing condition, you can't get insurance. That means you can't get access to paying for the treatments. You might have limited access to vaccines and therapies. It becomes a humanitarian catastrophe. Those are the stakes in front of us over the course of the next several days and weeks, especially for people who have had the COVID-19 diagnosis.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. Senator Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Leader, and good to be with our colleagues. Just a quick comment about last night. Donald Trump's claim last night that he had lowered prescription drug prices for Americans is, in my view, deserving of unlimited numbers of Pinocchios. For example, he claimed last night that he had implemented a strategy to get tough with the fact that all the breaks seemed to go to foreign countries. The Finance Committee found that for the same drug, foreigners were paying a lot less than Americans. So Donald Trump said last night that he had implemented a most favored nations policy that would radically lower prices. And this morning, health experts said that was just untrue, just factually untrue. So I appreciate the leader scheduling this to give us a chance to zero in on healthcare questions. And I want to pick up on my colleague's point about the Affordable Care Act. The fact is, if Donald Trump wins in this case, millions of senior citizens are going to pay a lot more for health care that is a lot worse. And let me give you some examples. First, Americans who are 55 or 60 and count on private insurance for health care are going to be in for a nightmare. And here, for example, we might be talking about an elderly widow. And that elderly widow is already walking on an economic tightrope, balancing the food bill against the fuel bill and the fuel bill against the rent bill. And as Senator Murphy said, we're already concerned about the prospect of that person being at high risk for COVID and the consequences that they would be facing. So this idea of an age tax where you basically get hammered just because you're 55 is something that we Senate Democrats disagree with significantly. Second, I mentioned the prescription drug issue. There's a problem for seniors specifically. If Trump wins in court, seniors are going to face a reopening of what's called the donut hole, which is a really Byzantine deal, but from sea to shining sea, what it means for seniors. And this goes back to my days with the Gray Panthers. They're going to pay a lot more for their medicine, period, full stop. Finally, we need to talk for just a moment about Medicare, which I know is going to keep coming up in the days ahead. Medicare is heading towards real financial problems, including the possibility of insolvency in just 3 years because of the damage Donald Trump has done to the economy. The ACA lawsuit could make it even worse. So you can't trust Donald Trump to protect Medicare. So we Senate Democrats are going to protect Medicare from Donald Trump. And there are a whole host of issues that are going to be debated, and I'm sure you're going to have some questions, but nowhere are the differences more clear than our policies towards protecting the rights of vulnerable older people and what Donald Trump has laid out. And for example, last night, his claims about prescription drugs were just right out of fantasy land. And we can get you that information that backs that up. Thank you, Leader. Senator Rono?
No, no.
Thank you. Well, the clear and present danger of this nominee to the Supreme Court is truly the elimination of the Affordable Care Act. And you've already heard from my colleagues what that would mean. And that's what we need to do to convey to the American people that their health care is at risk with this nominee. And there are so many groups that will be particularly at risk, of course, the seniors, but another group that is at risk would be our minority communities. And I know you've covered stories of minority communities and the fact that so many of them are in the essential worker category. A lot of them live in multi-generational households. They are much more likely to have pre-existing conditions. So this is a vulnerable group of people. And what's really more than appalling is so many of us have been calling on President Trump to use the Defense Production Act to PEs manufactured, to have ventilators. But do you know what he uses the Defense Production Act to force a group of people back to work? These are all the people working in our meat packing plants. Many of them, most of them, are minority people. And for me in Hawaii, I'm particularly aware that COFA citizens are very much working in these meatpacking plants, and over 42,000 of all the people working in meatpacking plants. Have you ever been to a meatpacking plant? Is that a place that would be conducive to our health? So 42,000 people have already been tested, have tested positive in meatpacking plants, and 200 of them have already died. And so he uses the Defense Production Act to force these people to be exposed to COVID. This is how much the president cares about our health care. And yes, you know what? The 100 million people in our country who have pre-existing conditions, and I bet you, most of the people here have pre-existing conditions. I certainly do. Add to that the 7 million who have tested positive, with many more out there who will test positive for COVID. Add them to the list of people with pre-existing conditions. The elimination, the striking down of the Affordable Care Act, because Amy Barrett is going to be on the court just in time, November 10th, to hear the Affordable Care Act case, will mean that families will be sitting around their dining tables with no Affordable Care Act to help them, sitting there trying to figure out how the heck they're going to access the health care that they need. This is real, and this is why health care is the number one issue for everyone in our country, except possibly the very rich people who got the benefit of the 1.5 trillion in tax cuts that President Trump pushed through. Thank you.
Mays.
Good, easy.
We're ready for questions. Yes.
Great, thank you. Senate Republicans, specifically a majority of the women in their conference, came out today to celebrate the Barrett nomination, specifically as her status as a mom with school-age children, trying to frame that as a new dimension for feminism. What is your response to that particular angle from Republicans on the nomination?
Look at her record. Her record, what she believes in terms of her, in terms of ACA. You get rid of ACA, you take loads of protections away from women's health. You look at her record on the right to choose, which a vast majority of Americans want to maintain Roe v. Wade. And you just see that her record is really against what women in America need and want. Do you want to follow up too, Maisie?
It's very clear what her position is on the Affordable Care Act. That is why she's being pushed in time to be sitting in the court November 10th. This is not a coincidence. Getting rid of the ACA is the number one priority for President Trump and also for the Republicans. So that is what's going to happen. Why don't we just recognize what is going on? And the American people need to hold all the Republicans who vote for this person accountable for getting rid of their health care.
Yes.
Senator Schumer, government funding expires tonight at midnight. The Senate hasn't passed the CR yet. When is that going to happen? And Are you aware of a reason that hasn't happened yet?
I think it will happen in the next few hours. The House sent us over their bill, and cloture was last night. Motion to proceed was before that, and so we'll vote on it today with enough time to make sure that the government stays open. Yes.
Senator, I have a question for you about climate change.
Sure.
As you know, former Vice President Joe Biden has the most ambitious climate change plan ever put forward by a presidential candidate, $2 trillion in spending. Senate Democrats have put forth also a very ambitious plan that includes explicitly passing some kind of carbon price. House Democrats have also put a very ambitious plan forward. Even if Democrats gain the White House and the Senate, you won't have a filibuster-proof majority. Of all of these sweeping, ambitious proposals, how does any of this actually get through? And what could actually get through the Senate? And I have a follow-up for all three of you, which is, can each of you tell me where you stand on the possibility of eliminating the filibuster if you gain the majority?
Well, to answer the second question first, as I've said before, we first have to elect a majority. If we don't elect a majority, we won't even be discussing it. But if we do elect a majority, we'll all get together and everything will be on the table. Nothing will be off the table. On climate, the bottom line is we are looking already at ways we can get comprehensive climate legislation done. And there are a variety of different ways, and we're exploring all of them. It is one of our highest priorities, and we are going to get something very strong and bold done.
And are you talking now with the Biden campaign about what a Senate strategy would look like for that?
We are talking with lots of different people.
Okay, and the other two senators, if you could say where you are on ending the filibuster.
My position is the same as the leader's position on filibuster. You know, there was a time when I did not support a filibuster change because filibuster is supposed to protect the voice of the minorities. We're in the minority. I don't think our voices are being protected. So I'm open to that discussion, but it won't happen unless the Democrats take back the Senate.
Right.
And we're making it very clear. There are a whole host of issues that you're going to have to deal with next year. We're talking about a threat right now. I just went through, for example, the fable Donald Trump is telling about lowering prescription drug prices. He claimed last night that prices are going to be going down 80 to 90% under his leadership. There are no senior citizens I've met the last few weeks in Oregon who say, oh my goodness, Ron, I'm so glad my prescription drug prices are going down. So we are dealing with a threat right now to the most vulnerable, Americans. I will just tell you, you asked about the vice president. We on the finance committee have been talking nonstop for years about this tale of two tax codes, one set of breaks for the people at the top, another for a firefighter. We learned just the last couple days about what that system means in the New York Times expose on the tax returns, and the vice president, to his credit, specifically picked up on the kind of language that finance Democrats are talking about, where you have to give a fair shake to people who work for a wage and not just give all the breaks to the people who make their money on wealth.
One other thing I'd add to your question, the proposal that I made, Clean Cars for America, which gets all internal combustion cars off the road by 2040, is part of the Biden platform, which shows you how well we're working together. Yes.
The Commission on Presidential Debates has come out and said that they're considering changes to the format of the next two debates. I'm just wondering, for all of you, if there's anything specific that you'd like to see changed in the next two debates.
Well, I'd say two things. I'd say three things. First, unless he's trying to lose, I don't think Donald Trump should want to debate Joe Biden again. Second, I would say maybe we should give the moderator a mute button, given how President Trump just interrupts at will. And the bottom line is Donald Trump doesn't follow the rules. The commission's got to get a lot tougher when debate participants don't follow the rules. Okay? I think we're done.
I have another one, if I take it, unrelated to this, but there are a number of Democrat senators that have said that they're not going to meet with Judge Barrett. I believe, Senator Schumer, you've also said that. Do you think that you are, in doing that, even in protest, missing an opportunity potentially to vet her on information that may be valuable to the public?
Look, we know her views. She's totally opposed to the ACA. She's totally opposed to Roe v. Wade on so many other issues. She said she's following Scalia's philosophy. I think that she is so far away from where America should be that no discussion will change any of that.
I said on the Judiciary Committee, I am one of the members who will not be meeting with her. And I have said that when the president accords American people the courtesy of not lying to us every single day, including during a debate last night, I will extend the courtesy to meet with his nominee for a lifetime appointment, who will start by taking away our health care and then moving on to eliminating a woman's right to choose.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, I'll be attending the hearing.
Thank you. To ask her specifically about her, there's been reports of her connection to a faith group called People's Prayer.
Yeah, her faith is irrelevant, but what's relevant is what the real issue is, whether their closely held views can be separated from her ability to make objective, fair decisions with her lifetime appointment.
So you don't think that group should come up at all during the hearings, or maybe not?
It comes up,
specifically?
if at all, in the context of her closely held views.
Thank you, Senator.
I know that wasn't at the mic, but I saw it, I was like, oh. I think I'm the only TV here, so I was like, we got.
I know.
So they look at me like, where do we go?
I don't believe that because you're looking.
Yeah.
Right.
The staff guy with, Robert's purse. I don't understand what the trouble. He, stood up right in between the shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You didn't- yeah, thanks for your help. You didn't even know.
Oh.
But,
He's Senate.
thank you again.
You're
Thank you guys.
So you contact John?
Mr. Bus, signing out. Goodbye.
Usually Senator. Which I can accommodate.
No, that's not, I
But
mean.
again,